Live. Are we live?
Testing. Levels.
I don't see my face on there, Chris.
Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Hey,
There we go.
As promised, we're back for another week of Tech Talk Thursday. This week we're going to talk about data and data storage. And I said before this broadcast, I know a lot about storing shoes, storing clothes, storing food, not a lot about data storage. So there was a report that came out on Cyber Magazine that said by the year 2025, which is only 4 years away, or 3 years away, sorry, that the world will store 200 zettabytes?
Zetabytes. It's a lot of bytes.
It's a lot of bytes.
A lot of bytes.
I don't even know what that is, but I know it's a whole lot of something.
It is.
So, which made us pause to think, what about all the storage? So we thought we'd have some props here. Back in the early days of diskettes, we could not find a floppy diskette, sadly.
For any of our non-visual people, can you describe this thing?
This is a hard 3.5-inch disc. So originally there were floppy disks, and you would go to slide them in the drive, and they would get bent. Yeah, they actually flopped. If you left them in your car, they would warp. And so then the 3.5-inch hard disk came out, and everybody thought it was just, this is like the best thing ever. It had the little slidey thing up at the top.
No, it's at the bottom to protect the write on it. So it can't.
That's right.
You can't overwrite it.
Right.
I'm trying to remember when. I mean, I used these in like maybe 3rd or 4th grade for elementary projects. I don't know. You were like maybe 6th, 7th grade, something like that?
No.
Oh, no?
Thank you.
I like that we have the limited edition Adobe Photoshop version 2.5 for Macintosh.
It's the Snow Leopard version.
This is installer disc 1, and it's limited edition. So
this is all in our time capsule. Our tech time capsule.
I'm going to, I think I'll be listing this on eBay.
No.
No? It's limited edition. We could probably at least get $3 for this thing.
I wonder how much it is. Really? I bet it's a lot. I have the last edition of Adobe that came on CD.
Okay.
I have that one because that was like my favorite version of all. But
this
anyway.
Is the one you still use?
Yeah.
Adobe Creative Cloud all the way.
Woo. So it went from this hard 3.5-inch disc. I remember the zip discs. That was, you could like store a ton of crap on there.
Yep, and they were faster.
Yes.
I remember there was the external zip drive that you'd plug in, and then you could back things up to it, and it was like the coolest thing ever.
Yes, until
like 2 gigs of backup.
The CD came out, and then you had the CD reader, writer, software all came on CD. I remember doing package designs when I worked at a Primo for our software.
Their software to come out on a CD. Nice.
Yep. And then the bug fixes all had to come out on CDs too. And then the software companies realized, hey, if we give them a CD, they can pass it around and have multiple people download it.
Yeah.
So then they went to cloud-based, and you had to just download it. But also up here, go ahead.
Fun fact. So I recently, there is someone that works for us who had a previous life as a musician, and I was tracking some things down he's also in the streaming community and things like that, and so I was tracking him down and just to try and find his channel, and I stumbled across a CD of his from his younger days.
Oh, how cool!
Of that he had, and so the funny part though is, so I tried to come up with a way to play it, like to play the CD. Like I wanted to play it, have him come in. I would have been like, "Hey, what's this? Have you heard of this song before?" I couldn't find anything to play it with. I don't have anything in my house now that will play.
You don't have your Discman?
I don't have it. I don't have a Discman. I don't have a boombox. I don't have anything like that. It's all streaming.
I don't think I have anything either.
Yeah.
I
so I just handed it to him. I was like, "Hey, I found this thing." Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. You should have brought that to the company meeting next month.
Yeah, I think that's a past he wants to leave left behind. So I wasn't gonna embarrass him too much about it.
Oh shoot.
eBay has Adobe Photoshop 2.5 on 3.5-inch floppy disks as is for $16.99.
Is that the limited edition one though?
It's not the limited edition, but it is all diskettes.
Is that
$1,600? We don't have that going for us.
No, $16.
Oh, that's sad.
All right, well, I changed my guess for maybe like 50 cents.
Oh. All right. So the next upgrade were these hard drives.
3.5-inch spinning disc.
Yes.
This is specifically, is this 7200 or is this a 10K drive? Let's see. Oh, it doesn't say on here. It doesn't say on here.
Well, that was fairly short-lived because
500 gig though.
500 gig,
That was
wow.
huge. I remember I got a 500 gig drive at one point in time. I never thought I'd fill it up. It's an external hard drive. I was at Purdue. They had a peer-to-peer file sharing at Purdue that I had a job on campus that I had unfeathered access to the network, so I could download it all day. And so I took a job in the electronics lab, mostly because I could just sit on there, plug my computer in, and download movies and stuff all day. And I had a 500 gig drive. I was like, oh, I'll never fill this up.
And did you?
And then, I filled it up. And I bought a 1 terabyte drive. I was like, oh, there's no way I'll fill this up.
Right.
And now I think, in my backpack, I carry like 2 or 4 terabytes or something. So it's crazy.
Yeah, so I bought a 1 terabyte external backup, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. Same as Daniel, I'm never going to fill this up. But graphic files, video files, they all take up just a ton of space because the one that I bought, I think, is a Seagate, and it has a redundant internal backup, which I thought this was like. But of course, it's like the size of, it's smaller than a pizza box. I don't know. It's pretty big because now, like this one.
Smaller than a pizza box. Pizza box is huge. There's a lot of
A
things that are
small
smaller
pizza.
than a
A
pizza
small
box.
pizza box.
Like, are you talking personal pan, or are you talking about like
Personal
a large?
pan.
Okay, all right.
Personal pan. It's
Like,
about that
geez, there's
size.
like, I mean, you could fit like a Zetabyte in the size of a pizza box.
What about a yada byte?
Maybe.
We're going to get to that. So this one, this red small one, fits in the palm of your hand. I think this one was 2 terabyte.
1 terabyte, 2.5 inch
terabyte.
spinning.
Okay. So this little black one, which I would love to pocket, but I've been told I will not. This one is a 2 terabyte.
Yep.
Look how small. I mean, it's probably smaller than a business card.
Yeah. It's maybe like 2.5 inches by 3.5, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
No moving parts.
No moving parts. Doesn't shake.
Sounds like something's.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Uh-oh.
This is also, so, oh, wow. Just edit that out, Chris. There is has been a significant change in how you interface with these. So USB-C, Thunderbolt, whatever, however many different. The standard that was supposed to kill all the standards has now become the standard that is creating all the standards. So that's really awesome. But this had, what was this style called again, Chris? This is a 3.0.
That was USB 3 micro B.
That's what it is. Yeah. So one side was power and the other side was data. And then on the USB-C, it's now power and data. It can also do display and whatever Thunderbolt version it is can do like 40 gig per second. And can power your device at 90 watts and all this fun stuff. But then there's like all these little sub variants of that. That's a whole nother episode all on its own. That's frustrating enough to deal with. So I'll stop talking about it.
We have our small TBG
Branding.
flash drive, which this one is a 3 megabyte.
3 megabyte? No way.
No.
There's no way I approved you to buy 3 megabytes of something.
It's got to be at
4
least
gig.
512.
4 gig.
4 gig?
4
Okay.
gig. Yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 1, but they screwed up my order and they said, "Well, we've got
We'll
the
give you
orange
4
Yeah,
instead.
we'll give you 4." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Sweet." So anyway, and then this thing, I don't remember what this is.
That is an M.2 drive.
Oh,
Yep.
M.2.
Yep.
How could I forget that? And it's how big?
That's probably a 512 or maybe nope, this is 128. So this is more for your internal, like, use it on PC or you'll put it in an enclosure or something like that. So you can see the full circuit board and
It
everything
looks like
on
a
it.
stick of gum.
It does. Yeah, it's about the size of like a big red stick of gum,
Juicy fruit.
like juicy fruit pack of gum. These are pretty impressive because they use your PCI slots, so you can have like some of these will read write at like 7-8 gig per second, which is pretty quick, and they're small form factor, no spitting disk. You can have multiple of them. And these things have calmed down tremendously in price within like the last year.
I was going to ask you, what do those run?
Yeah, I bought maybe 2 years ago. I bought a 1 terabyte one. It was like $400. The equivalent one now is like $200, $100, $150, somewhere in there, depending on what variety you get, speeds, read write, things like that. But yeah, these things are immensely impressive, and they're kind of taking the place of the big 3.5 or the 2.5-inch spinning disc that used to be in there. Now most things are solid state. This is a solid state drive, just much more reliable and faster.
Doing a price check.
Yep.
On Newegg, not the best drive because it's a Gen 3.
Yeah.
An SK Hynix 128 gigabyte PCIe NVMe is $14.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, I think it was at Hynix, they came out of nowhere and were just like, hey, we have all the awesome drives. Like on the high end, they have some really ridiculous write speeds.
Well, I think they were a OEM for a long time. So they were actually
now they make their own brand.
They were making the chips and now they have their own brand.
Came out of nowhere. Took the industry by storm. It's a hot topic.
So all that being said, security-wise.
I have a question.
Yes.
When you put data on this, does the weight of your drive change?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You positive?
Yes.
100%? Let's see.
Do you want to cut to commercial here?
Yeah. So I checked this before. I'll double check my sources, but
fact checker.
the answer is it will change.
What?
Yep.
Interesting.
So if there's a physicist out there that wants to prove me wrong, I'm totally okay with being wrong on that. So
Wait, do I have to go sit in a Waffle House for 24 hours?
probably I would encourage you to do that. Life altering experience. Sorry,
So,
you were going to
security wise.
yeah, and I was trying to talk about small.
And I talk
microns.
about food all the time.
Yeah.
So security wise, very, very secure, very secure, very secure, not so secure.
Yeah, this thing. So if you ever see just a USB stick in a parking lot, just don't pick it up. The whole goal there is, you can put something on a little hand flash drive or USB stick flash drive, keep it in your pocket, you can have your stuff on it. You can encrypt these, but the other thing is you leave them in a place where people are going to pick them up that are in a secure environment that they will put them in their pocket. I'm like, oh, sweet, free flash drive. And they plug it in the computer, and then it has some malicious code on it that ends up working its way into the system under, behind no access, behind secure access, something that would normally have blocked all these things. It now made its way in there. A good example of this is there was I think it was Iran in 2017, I believe it. I may get some of the dates wrong, but effectively, it was a very secure off-grid nuclear, or it was an enrichment site for nuclear weaponry, or it was an enrichment site that was then determined by CIA and FBI and things like that. That it was, or not FBI, CIA. That was a nuclear enrichment site that was geared towards weaponry, and it was totally disconnected. So there was no way to get to it from the internet or anything like that. And so what they did was they put the malicious code on things like this, and they just had hundreds of hundreds to thousands of these that they would just kind of litter around areas where they knew engineers or employees or things like that worked. And it was a self-deploying code. It was a worm that once it got deployed, it would just self-propagate and propagate. And the whole goal of it was to effectively make its way to the centrifuge and slowly ratchet up the speed of it to the point where it just tore itself apart. And it all got infiltrated by someone picking up and plugging in a USB stick. Credit to podcast Darknet Diaries. If you're into kind of learning about any of dark web or hacking or things like that, does a really good job. I listen to it on a regular basis, and that's where I heard about that story.
I'm going to show you guys this. I don't know if we want to show this on the stream. This is another USB-like device that looks exactly like a USB stick. But I don't know if you've seen these in action, but basically when you plug this in, there's a bunch of capacitors on the inside, and it will destroy your hardware almost instantly.
Wow.
So it'll kill the entire thing that you put it into, or it will just kill the USB ports?
It will kill. So it depends. Sometimes it will kill. I guess I'll show this to the stream because you can just Google this. It will most likely, depending on The version, I guess they have a Pro and a Classic and all that kind of fun stuff.
Classic USB kill stick. I keep one of those in my back pocket.
But it depends on the hardware itself. So the demos that I've seen, it will literally, you plug it into a device and you'll hear a big click because that's the capacitor just charging into the power lines, and it can just basically wipe out entire boards. So, yeah, another thing that maybe you don't want to pick up because you could easily disguise this as just a regular USB.
Can you recharge it?
So what it does is the way that it works,
or is it just pulling a whole bunch?
It's just pulling. So the device has to be powered on for it to actually function.
All right. Okay. Huh. Interesting.
So
one of those may show up in our office. When we play with. I think is this the new way we securely dispose of old devices in our office? I think so.
Yeah. I had another thought. You said about device security. I think the biggest one obviously is physical access.
Yeah.
Getting having that actual hard drive or having that actual diskette or CD is probably the biggest security risk.
Yeah, because you don't necessarily think about it too much, but even like your hard drive or something like that, if you don't securely dispose of it, shred it, destroy it, or something like that, shoot it if you want.
Drill a lot of holes in it.
There is, even if you delete everything off of it, there are tools, cost significant amount of money, but there are ways and methodologies to actually pull the data off of this that you thought was deleted. We've had to do that for clients where something got deleted or destroyed or had some sort of power issue with it where we've had to pull it off, and it can cost thousands of dollars per gig to be able to pull that data off, but there is a way to do it. If there's valuable enough information on it, company secrets or information that someone wants to get to, like exploiting people's personal information or things like that, the potential upside for the malicious individual might be worth it to spend thousands of dollars to try and pull data off of a key person's hard drive. So, just throwing these things out is not always I don't think there's always going to be someone digging through your trash. But if you want to dispose of it, there are places you can send them to that they'll dispose of them. They make their money by receiving these, melting them down, and then recycling the raw materials, taking out the rare earth materials from it, and recycling them. So you can help upcycle your device, so create less e-waste and things like that than just throwing it in the garbage.
So let's talk about, instead of using this for backup, let's talk about the cloud.
The cloud.
The cloud, everything's in the cloud, and where all this 200 zettabytes is going to go.
Zetabyte. So, whether you think you're using cloud storage, you probably are in some form or fashion. Every iPhone user comes with 5 gig of iCloud storage on their phone for backup, and that's usually you'll get a notification that says, hey, your iCloud storage is full. Would you like to get 100 gig for 99 cents? And you're like, yeah, yes. Why not?
Yes, please.
I personally have a family iCloud account with 2 terabytes that I just have everybody back their iPhones up to because it makes my life a lot easier. When someone gets a new phone, I can just restore from it. But you have things like Dropbox. If you have a Gmail account, you get 10 gig of Google Drive storage. If you have, and all of your emails in Gmail are stored in the cloud. If you have, Office 365, you get OneDrive. So, without even realizing it, people are probably putting more data in the cloud than they would have suspected they were. And so I think that is a big reason why you start to see all of this stuff getting there, even if you think you're not a big user of the cloud. There's however many billions of people in the world, and there's however many billions of iPhones out there, and all of them are probably using at least 5 gig. That's 5 gig in the cloud. So,
and that's just the phones.
That's just the phones.
Talking about laptops, data centers. So let's talk about data centers for a second.
Yep.
So do you have a picture of our data center, Chris?
Yeah, let me bring that up here.
So we have an offsite data center that we store things in for people, yes?
Mm-hmm.
There it is. So one rack.
Looks like every other data center.
I was impressed when I went.
I think that we could slap our logo on anybody's data center service. Those I can guarantee
really
those
ours.
are ours. Those are
It's really ours.
Yep.
So what types of things do we store there?
So we have lots of things. I mean, we have networking to be able to get the internet and things in there, and there's code stored on those. We have customer VMs, customer files. We have backups of equipment from customer sites and things like that. So it's everything from business files to, if a client has storing anything on their servers and they're backed up there, then we have it in there. But it's both functional and storage data is in there.
Okay. So let's talk about security a little bit. So what keeps all of this data in the cloud secure?
Yeah, it depends on where it is, right? If you're using iCloud, I'm going to pick on that again. It's secured by your username and password credentials for your iCloud account. So it's as good as the security that you put on it to keep your password secure and safe. And do you have multi-factor authentication, everything on that? Same thing with Dropbox or any of those. It's a user authenticated account, so it's as good as the security that you put on you as a user to be able to protect your data. From our standpoint, data centers and things like that, there's physical security, there is the network security layer, there's the continual, vulnerability scanning and testing and things like that to secure the premise places. And so those same things are happening to your data in iCloud. Apple has either their own data centers or they're using somebody else's data center to be able to host that somewhere. So while all of your data is in the cloud, it's in the cloud to you, but it's physically somewhere. It is taking up square footage, it's taking up electricity costs, it's taking up, it's off-putting carbon gases. I mean, it's using a significant amount of resources that you don't ever see. But really, the cloud is just somebody else's server at the end of the day. It's not your server, it's somebody else's server, and they get to deal with all the headaches of it being their server someplace else. So it all comes back. It's got to be somewhere. Can't live in the ether anywhere. We haven't figured out how to store data in the air or in light, or you can pass data in light and things like that, but it's not just floating around us and we grab it when we need it. It's taking up physical space somewhere.
So for people who, let's just say, use Microsoft,
mm-hmm.
and they have their own cloud storage.
Yep.
So what happens if Microsoft gets hacked? So all of their stuff gets hacked too? Or what if it goes down? What if it majorly crashes? Is all their backup and everything gone too?
Well, yeah, so we've seen some of that in the last few years where Amazon's been down, Microsoft has had outages, even content delivery networks like, what's the big one that everyone uses?
Akamai.
Yeah, Akamai. When those went down, people's access to things went away, right? Now, was there data loss in that? There's some data loss somewhere. Maybe there was data in transaction saving from your computer up to the cloud and it got disconnected. So the update you were trying to save didn't go. But in the sense where, we'll pick on Microsoft. If Microsoft were to have a data breach and you're using Office 365, if you read through their terms of service, they hold themselves not liable for They hold themselves liable to an extent of protecting your data, but if it were to be lost, they have very loose requirements on actually restoring your data. So, just like back in the day when you had your laptop and you would have an external drive and you would back it up, you need to think about backing up the cloud. If you have business or critical files in there and you only have it in one spot, it's not there. I mean, it could go away at some point in time. So there's a podcaster that I listen to that has a phrase, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. And that is very true when it comes to data storage in the cloud. If you have only one cloud provider for your data, and in the moment, you could effectively have no provider in that space. So having a secondary place of storage, even if you're using the cloud, if it's critical enough, it makes sense to do it. That's why companies like Synology, Backblaze, Wasabi, and others all have all these integrations into Azure storage, AWS, and the other big content providers like that to be able to be a secondary backup for it. Yeah, right there, 3-2-1 strategy. So very common in that. So you have your have multiple ways to have your backups. In this one, it's talking about 2 on-site, 1 off-site, and things like that. So, I mean, myself, I use Backblaze for some things. We use Backblaze for a couple different things to back up internal pieces, just because it integrates really well with different things. It's a cost-effective model for certain types of backup. But yeah, it's your data is still somewhere, and it still ends up being someone's responsibility. And big companies are really good at carving out them being held reliable for it going away. So we offer services to customers that are using Google Cloud or Office 365 to back it up, because traditionally there's very expensive knowledge that's in the cloud, and if it were to go away, it'd be gone, and it would be a huge loss. And the traditional thought, or the thought was, I moved to the cloud, everything's safe, I don't have to worry about it anymore, right? And you can worry less, but you still need to make sure you put the right precautions in place.
I know that when Chris and I go out and we shoot videos of different clients' needs or whatever, we back it up. We have a backup of our backup, and I think we might have a backup of we have 2 backups of the backup, maybe.
Yes.
So backup to the backup
right.
of the backup.
Because we keep a couple of them off site. We have one here. Because the video, you may want to go back to the raw footage at some point, and you don't want it to be corrupt or whatever.
We keep one drive in a car going around 465
it
at
never
all
stops.
times.
Constant.
So it's never in the same spot ever. So very secure. That one gets swapped out 3 times a week, so we can rotate the data on it. It's
in case it gets targeted, it's
Exactly.
a different car all the time.
Yep.
It might say Brookfield Group on the side. It might not.
Never says Brookfield Group. If you see a Brookfield one, it's a decoy car.
Yes. So let me give you a scenario then. If somebody has their stuff in the cloud, it's not backed up, and they get hacked or something bad happens. I was trying to think of we probably shouldn't use one of our clients that uses a double backup, but we can restore from our backup, and it's a clean backup.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways to talk about that. So you have your backup that is, you want to make sure your backups are secure from the standpoint of, if you have something on site, you want to make sure it's not connected to the same network, or it's air gapped or something like that. So that way, if your device gets hit with something, it doesn't automatically encrypt your backup. So using something like our data center or the tools that we use, there is a segregation between the data where it lives. If there is an on-site copy and an off-site copy, they are not on the same network available to get to each other, and they're completely different paths. So if all backups for some reason were somehow encrypted on the on-site copy, there would still be an off-site copy that was either air-gapped or secured in a way that virus or whatever malicious thing could not get to it, so we can have something to restore from. There's multiple different ways to kind of go through that. Some companies that we use and vendors that we use have, proprietary methods to make that happen. I mean, there's, billions of dollars made by creating solutions that solve that problem exactly. The main key now, and especially ransomware and the like, is getting into your data, but not just getting into your data, getting into your backup data. So then when you restore, you are hit again and again, and it just is a repeating cycle, and you are almost get to the point where you're like, I have to pay the dollars because I can't go back far enough to actually restore a healthy backup of it. And so that's where also that 3-2-1 type mentality comes in, is making sure things are segmented properly. You have the right amount of spacing between it. You have the right amount of longevity in your backup solution. And there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. And it's, we have recommendations that we use, but it's a conversation with whoever is looking to put that solution into place, to make sure we build the solution that fits their need, their budget, and what they're ultimately after to protect.
Right. Well, so with all of this, there's never going to be less data. We're only going to just keep increasing.
Yep.
So with all of the amount of data that's coming up with this zettabyte amount in just 3 short years, the backup thing is really important. So Chris has this really cool graphic. We have megabyte.
The megabyte, a gigabyte, which gigabyte and terabyte are the ones that people are, normal
Familiar.
common conversation, right? Petabyte, it floats around in the background. You'll see a lot of companies touting, like if you're looking for a backup solution, things like that. It was like, hey, we have 20 petabytes underneath our underneath management and things like that. So that's kind of a little more mainstream. And then you start to get into the exabyte and zettabytes and the
Yada
yottabytes.
bytes.
And those are things that are not as common. But as we work our way up this ladder, a soon commonplace will be terabyte, petabyte is what we're going to hear mostly about. And people are like, we have exabytes of data under management. And then it's going to keep kind of moving its way up. I mean, every year cameras, take bigger, better pictures. And, everything that we do, the amount of data it's using doesn't get any smaller, it seems.
Right. So I wish I would have had Chris cue up the rap song. I don't know what it is, where he says, back it up. So that's the key from today, or the takeaway from today's stream, is make sure your data is secure and backed up.
And it's always changing, as we notice. I mean, right here we have, 7 different examples of, and this is just a small subset of all the different ways that we, data was stored over the years. I mean, going all the way back to punch cards, right?
Yeah.
Like you put those in the mainframe and it would run its little things and do its stuff, right? And so it's always changing. There's always going to be something that's cutting edge. Companies are always trying to figure out how do they more storage, less space, and it's fun to see what that looks like.
Yep, convenience. But back it up. Come on, Chris.
What?
We'll get
Play the song.
we'll get copyright claim.
We're gonna get
that.
copyright claims. We
Even
can't
do
for
that.
one little
We won't
phrase.
get our 20 cents off of monetizing this episode.
Shoot.
Come on.
All right. Well, that's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back again on Thursday at 2 o'clock, so be sure and join us. Thanks for coming.